starting the broadcast. We welcome you to Depths of Gaming, episode 56.
Greetings, everyone. I am Voice, and he is Necro.
Indeed. And we are here to bring you some news, but before the news, even more news.
Yes, indeed.
For we have some
So,
death charges for you.
Launch the death charges, yes.
Launching them, yes. They are launched. They are billions patched again after a while and add 6 wonders. These are late game buildings that you can build for building benefits that you possess if you build it. And they do late game stuff. I have their billions, and I really don't like the balance of it because it's intentionally poorly designed to make it harder. Where games like Frostpunk are just happen to be hard and are designed well.
Yeah, the game needs to focus more around fixing the design issues than to adding more content to the late game, I think. You first need to have a solid game first, then you can focus on the rest of the development cycle. What else?
Vigilantes patch version 26 has hit, and it brings new weapon recipes, new quality of life measures. You're now able to utilize your other characters more. Originally, only your main character, Sam, was able to do any of the crafting or surveillance, but now your other characters can, which is pretty cool. It speeds up the game quite a bit. And there was also a new character added.
Multitasking.
Edgar. And Edgar is a melee / explosives expert. He's a crazy firefighter. Right. You catch him in the act of burning down a Church of the Final Exodus base. It's pretty entertaining.
Well, to be fair, in the church, we're only zombies, right?
Well, no, the Church of the Final Exodus is one of the gangs in the game.
Yeah, So, bottom line is, no one of value was lost.
No, it's okay to kill these people.
Yes.
Because as all games have taught us, evil people are open season.
Yes. Being evil is like playing your life on hard mode.
Pretty much, because apparently any person with a good alignment gets like quests to kill you. It's very mean. It happens quite frequently. It's surprising anyone becomes evil at all with the rate that they're cut down.
It's almost as if we need more realistic evil characters. Ones that actually have a point.
In general, I like Vigilantes. I played the new patch all the way through. Like, I don't think they've actually put in the end of the game yet. It's kind of sandboxy, but I've effectively beat the game. And I liked it. It definitely needs more content, but the content that exists is very fun to play. Speaking of fun to play, Dad of War has become the best-selling PS4 exclusive.
Yay! The best game about single parenthood.
Indeed. It is a game that teaches you that male bonding is important. and that you should teach your son very early on how to skin and kill a Tron elk.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, I am shamelessly stealing from Bill Hader because that's a fantastic joke. Quick, shoot the Tron elk!
I wonder when the new God of War comes to PC, or will the
I don't know.
the PlayStation or
Because
will
they're
the
making
PlayStation
a
hold
lot
it forever
of money
as a
off
hostage?
Because they do that. They'll hold on to it like 5 years at times.
Mm-hmm.
It took a very long time for some of the exclusives to come over. I thought we would never.
And some exclusives never come to PC.
Some of them never come to PC. Yeah.
That's actually an interesting thought. If there were no exclusives, if we were to outlaw the idea of exclusivity to console, what would happen with consoles?
I think they die off.
Yeah, because there's not really any other reason.
No. Well, actually, it's not entirely true.
Mm-hmm.
You can buy a PS4 and know for a fact you're going to get PS4 graphics. Where if you buy a computer, you have to upgrade it, you have to care for it, it has to be your main machine. But with a PS4, you just buy the PS4, play God of War.
I guess that's kind of the Apple mentality to it. But
Yeah.
once you actually buy your PC, you don't really have to think about it anymore.
You still have to do the
I bought
maintenance
my
and you have to
PC
upgrade it
like,
every now
5
and then.
years ago. I bought my PC like 5 years ago, and I still haven't upgraded it. And I bought it with explicit purpose that I'm going to upgrade it in the future, and I never had felt the need to do so. I still have 8 gigs of RAM, which is more than enough. I have GeForce 720, which is more than enough.
I'm saving up personally. I'm getting ready for something. I'm going to make a big purchase. I've decided that. I'm going to actually be smart with my money for once. Only took my entire life. So on to Tenna's. Midair has soared out of early access, becoming free to play.
Yay! We care because
it's a remake of Tribes.
Yay! It's one of those games that try to blend certain types of gameplay and basically become following the footsteps of other bigger games.
They reverse Fortnited them. Because it was crowdfunded in 2016, launched in 2017.
One of those games.
And now it's really out, and they decided it's now free to play. And I guess this was always the plan.
Mm-hmm. Hey, if it's out and free to play and it's a business model that actually makes them money, then all good wishes from me to them.
Oh yeah, I'm usually pretty excited when games like this come out because we need more wacky shooters where you do wacky things. There aren't enough of those.
Yeah, because shooter genre is very close to the ground, right? It's very two-dimensional.
Yes.
And whatever adds the element of verticality actually can theoretically add so much more to the gameplay.
Right. For instance, Radical Heights. You have a trampoline you can use. I've had very fun times where I've trampolined out of cover towards the enemy and then hosed them with SMG fire. I just Hulk leap towards them and spray them down. And that's basically what you can do in this game.
Nice.
So it's already out. Play that shit.
Yeah, it's free to play, so you have nothing to lose.
You have nothing to lose except your dignity. So moving on, Disco Elysium devs talk about combat.
It sounds very 70-ish, like 70-ish, like the disco era, right? You have the big afros and porn stashes and gigantic.
Well, the character does have a porn stash, but that seems to be about it. It doesn't look overly disco to me, for sure.
Yeah, it's some sort of noir detective RPG.
Yeah. You are cast as some kind of clone of Lemmy Kilmister, apparently. You've got this sick mutton chops and mustache, and there's a hard focus on narrative and not really combat. It's supposed to be cinematic and rare, and you're being stressed to make decisions smartly.
Mm-hmm.
Time is broken down into whirls, not turns. You see, in a whirl, you make an action and the enemy reacts to the action. Mm-hmm. Then you are allowed to use a multitude of skills to figure out what you should probably do for your next move.
Mm-hmm.
So the game asks you to make a lot of introspection as well as action. It's all about choice, as they put it.
I see. Well, when it comes to turn-based games, it all depends on the execution, because turn-based fights always drive the action to a halt. They do allow you to a great deal of strategy, is ability to strategize, but on the other hand, they stop everything in its tracks. I remember that I believe it was Grandia that had a very nice dynamic turn-based system that actually kept the action up and kept the strategy aspect of the game.
Right.
I wonder how the Disco Elysium will resolve that. That if it's still going to be fun. From what I read, fights are not going to be very often. Will not happen often.
No, it's one of those situations where, like in real life, you only get into a fight if you do something wrong or if someone really doesn't like you.
Mm-hmm. Makes
Apparently,
sense.
there's only one fight in the game that you can't avoid.
Since this is an RPG, will you be getting experience points for avoiding fights?
I haven't read the other devlogs, but I feel like there's probably some kind of rise it as you use it sort of progression system.
Makes sense.
It's the same kind of deal as in Vigilantes, where as you use the skills, they'll increase, and when you reach certain increases, amount of increases, you'll level up, and that's when you apply your points. So possibly it's like that. I would imagine it's not traditional experience.
Yeah, when it comes to this kind of mechanics, you get better as you use it kind of style. They lead towards a character that you might not necessarily were aiming for, right? I remember that in Skyrim, it was a very big problem to raise your magic caster, right? Because there were some very nice magic skills in that game, However, you start the game with a sword, and you start leveling your sword, and most of your beginning experience goes to like armor and sword instead of to where you would want to put it into magic, right? So we'll see how they're going to resolve that.
Well, this isn't the game where you decide if you're going to be a fist fighter or a gunslinger. This is a game where you decide what kind of agent you are.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. We will see. So Activision apparently considers Fortnite to be a lot of competition right now, and they think that Battle Royale is the new thing, and that's they even claim it's a genre in its own right.
No, it's not. A
No.
genre is an FPS or third-person shooter.
Because they think it's a game mode that's crucial to new franchises. They think every new franchise needs a new mode. By the way, Battlerite just announced there'll be a BR mode.
It's basically a glorified capture the flag.
Well, no, it's a glorified deathmatch.
Well, glorified deathmatch, yes, but it's basically that kind of thing. It's on the same level as capture the flag, team deathmatch,
Yeah.
and so on, right? It's just it needs a game on top of that, and it doesn't have. Most of those Fortnite clones, those Battle Royale clones, do not have that.
Well, that's where Activision Blizzard is on top of it, because
Oh god.
as they apparently their modus operandi is when we see people innovate in an interstring in an interesting and impactful way, we are quick to figure out how to capture inspiration from innovation. So what they're basically saying is we copy the recipe and then go one step beyond.
In other words, we are industry chasers. We do not set trends, we chase them. We are passive like that. This is something that... this is the kind of message that directly speaks to investors. Not to gamers, but to investors. Because investors want safe, predictable results and high results. And that irks me because it says so much about Activision.
It really does. They only care about results, and they're not afraid to cheat, apparently, to do it.
Well, it's not really cheating.
I don't know. It's playing safe. That's what it really is. Cause they're
it's boring.
Because that's how
Activision...
Fortnite came to be. Is they sniped a indie that they happened to be licensing to.
Mm-hmm.
And then everyone started copying Fortnite intensively because of it. For instance, Radical Heights was a very early planned attempt. Essentially, Fortnite got the rep because they did it first. If they were capable of fully pumping out Radical Heights faster than they would have done it, if they were if any of these other games had beat them to it, that's the one we would be talking about. But Fortnite remade it with the AAA punch first, so they're the one that gets the glory. They get the bonus, and now we're all talking about Fortnite, and they should be all fucking happy about it.
And we all dance around the fucking
Now
battle
every
royale
single game that comes out now has some kind of battle royale mode. Maelstrom, which is a game I was talking about recently and really like, it is a battle royale game. It is a pirate battle royale. That's essentially Warhammer Fantasy with the with all the serial numbers filed way off.
Yep. It's basically the whole trend thing. First we had the Doom clones, then we had the shooters, then we had the World War II shooters, and so on and so forth. Now we have Battle Royale. There's always this. I think that the shooter genre is like the pop music of the gaming industry. It's basically your Rihanna, your Kesha, your whatever the fuck pop star is right now in.
Right. Well, it's the new fad. And the thing about fads in gaming is they seem intense at a time and then they pass. And the reason they seem so intense is because all the AAA people, they wait until specific times because they have a corporate council that they have to be holden to. They're shareholders. Yes. So when the share meetings end, at the end of share season, that's when the movement happens, because that's when all the money gets pushed to their table and they say, make that game. So the summer is going to be full of Battle Royale games.
Oh, God.
Winter is going to be full of polished Battle Royale games.
You seriously think that we will steal them all?
Was that a Polish joke?
Well, you said that everything will be Polish Battle Royale games, you said.
That is indeed what I said, Christian. Good catch.
Mm-hmm.
So, moving on to answers that nobody wanted. This is a really fun one today. We have 6 months to prepare for a 24-hour session. What are your tips? By Might Makes Right. Me and some folks are putting on a 24-hour session and stream in conjunction with our military unit to raise money for Extra Life, a charity that helps kids with cancer. Since asking anyone to DM for that long is too much, we'll be rotating. Each outgoing DM will have to coordinate with the oncoming DM to figure out how to connect their two stories and how to essentially incapacitate the player they were just playing. Having the party figure out how to save or rescue that player character would obviously make for a good mini-arc. Does there need to be one big arc to cover the whole 24-hour shift? Or could these mini-arcs suffice? Would it be better if we wrote our own stuff or used pre-written stuff? I've never DM'd before. Is 6 months enough time to learn? What about logistics for guest players? Any other tips? First off, amazing question. Really love the question.
Yeah, the general premise behind it is very nice, because cancer is something we need to kick the ass off.
Absolutely.
And yeah, and these guys are doing it, so props to them.
Yeah, I always say the two things that more people need to be aware of is cancer and role-playing games.
Yes.
So, on to the actual question. You've got the right idea. You want to have shifts of DMs, and you want it to be connected, not specifically one arc, like maybe one arc for the first 12, another arc for the next 12 after that. Alternatively, it can be like a singular story arc. It's very possible, because the very nature of this means you have to write your own stuff, because the adventures that are written for D&D assume that you will be stopping at some point.
Yep.
Because there's lots of downtime moments where not much stuff happens. And some of them, like Into the Abyss, are written in a chapter basis. So we will see.
I would say I experienced once a role-playing game that happened. Basically, the player character species got some sort of drug. They basically got drugged, and from that point on, they continued their kind of experience in like this parallel universe where nothing made sense, and people who were donating to the stream could suggest what new delusion will happen next, right?
Mm-hmm.
So one character got a situation like the GM said, "Hey, you feel like something is waking up inside you. A beast, a terrible monster. You're growing fur and muscles and claws and fangs, and you feel fabulous." And turn that person into a gay werewolf. Yay!
Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Ooh! Alright, so my first main recommendation here would be watch Harmon Quest. Harmon Quest is a great show to watch because they do their shows with a live studio audience. And they have a guest character for every episode. And so how they do their guest characters is essentially the DM conspires with them, asks them, like, what do you want to be? Here's a character I've prepared for you. Here's how they work. Here are your hidden goals. Here are your obvious goals. And then they play it from there. For instance, in Season 2, one player plays the Tooth Beast!
Ooh.
And he flies around by hitting the ceiling with like a grappling flail, and his name is Sense O'Dine, son of Tom of Maine, and so the guest characters are part of the world. Essentially, they're elevated NPCs. Some of them are elevated villains, we learn. There's a lot you can do to play with this character, because you typically can't do this with the player character, because at the resolution of the arc, that character usually has to die because, well, they're a villain. We can't party with this person because they're trying to rule the world. That's why players tend to trust other players, because they know they're probably in it for the good. And that's why there's a lot of stigma with playing an evil character, because it's assumed that you're trying to break up the party somehow. It's kind of racist. Where as a guest character, they have to take you at your word. you can say you're as good as you want, but you might be conspiring with the DM to like hurt someone.
That's actually kind of cool idea too.
Like some characters make it through the adventure. Some die at the end. Like it you never really know with the guest characters what's going to happen, and that's part of their appeal. It also allows you as a DM to not have to worry about an NPC that the players like, because you have to manage those characters in a special way, and that takes a lot of effort when you have to plan 6 hours of content, 6 to 8 hours of content for your sitting.
Or sometimes you just need a DM that is very high and just has this stream of consciousness.
Well, that's the thing, is that's going to come into play no matter what, because a general rule for Dungeons and Dragons is each encounter takes an hour of time to resolve. And intense encounters can take 2 to 3 hours. So all you have to do is prepare 10 encounters. As for 3 GMs, I'm assuming. So each GM prepares 10 encounters, 30 in total. And some of them are social encounters, some of them are combat encounters. And you string those along to form a branching narrative. Because you're not going to be able to use every encounter. What I'm essentially saying is plan more content than you need, but not too much. Because something you're going to find is when you put players against locked doors or powerful monsters, they're going to hesitate for a little while. Because you'll find players will like to stand around and ask each other what they think. And yeah, you're going to have to pre-write a lot of things. You're going to have to pre-write a lot of NPCs. I would advise buying all of the main D&D books. So I would say Player's Handbook, you need like 5 to 6 copies of that for everyone. You'll need one at the table for everyone, especially if they're spellcasters. You're going to want DM's Guide, Monster Manual, Xanathars, Volos, probably Mordenkainen's when it comes out, which actually I think comes out this week.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Sounds fancy.
So, as for the logistics, so like I said, you prepare your encounters. Early on, identify how many players you want if you're gonna, and how you're rotating the players. So you want to be stylistic about how you handle this. You don't want to just yank away from players. Like, you want the players to have a goal. They achieve the goal, and then we shift to a different party, possibly. For instance, if we go with a war scenario, one party is pushing forward to a way to open the main gate. And then they open the main gate, we shift to another party that's in the vanguard, and then they charge in the castle, and they fight for 10 hours and slaughter their way through the castle, and then we focus on the last party, which is the strongest. They're the elites that are now going to fight like the royalty of this castle, and that like end of this session is killing these royals and then finding out like what happens next, and then the session ends and you're going, wow, that was a long and intense battle. But that can't be the only way you can plan it. There are different ways you can plan it. It could be a quest, it could be a long journey through a whole country. We don't know. It's up to these guys, and I'm very interested to see what they do with this. Do you have anything else to add, Jahith?
No, not really.
All right, then I guess that's our show. I hope the answer helped.
Yep.
That was Jahith. I was Necker Scourge, and we will see you next week. Thank you.
See ya.